and I will, there we go. Now we're ready. So lesson number 45 in the Course of Miracles. I'm going to review just a little bit of what we looked at last week. Number 43 on Thursday was God is my source and I cannot see apart from him, apart from him. 44 then on Friday was God is the light in which I see. So we went into the weekend with that one, which I'm curious if anyone had anything that happened for you as you worked on that lesson. Anyone have anything they'd like to share? And so one of the things I will say is that, again, if you maybe forgot about practicing the lessons, those types of things, you can always go back and do it. The number 44 is one that I would definitely make certain I do. So, there's no judgment in this. I'm just saying don't miss this one, though, because what it starts to do is sets us up really well for the next couple of weeks for certain. And it also becomes foundational for the entire course. So I'm going to let's take a look at lesson 40. Well, actually, a little bit of review on 44 though, because there were a couple of key points in there that I want to make sure we don't lose. So God is the light in which I see was the lesson, and the key points are the first one were two. Number one is that you cannot see in darkness. You can't see in darkness, and you cannot make light. That's going to sound a little confusing. It's in the lesson itself, but if we think about it from that context, we break it down a little bit more. It says life reflects the truth. And this is truth with a capital T, the truth. All along we've talked about the fact that we have perception, and our perception is our filter on everything that happens to us. And that is not truth. The truth is different than our perception. Too often our perception is filtered by our egoic mind. So it's the way we think it should be. And our ego mind's job is to protect us, right? Separate us, keep us distinct, different, all of those things. It's really what we've been spending a lot of time talking about. So when we talk about you can't create light, the point was that there is a difference between creation and making, right? So we can make things up, we can create, we can make images up, and that's really what we do when we think we're seeing. Creation is an extension of the oneness of all that is, and so that's really it. It's an extension of God, and that's who we are. And again, remember, every one of us is perfect, whole, and complete. Perfect, whole, and complete because we're made in his or her image. And then making comes from the egoic mind and creates separation. So that's the difference. It's our ego talking when we do that. We talk a little bit about our egoic mind again today, but not a whole lot. So lesson 45 is this, though. God is the mind with which I think. God is the mind with which I think. And the lesson says this, that today's idea that God is the mind in which I think holds the key to what your real thoughts are. It holds the key to what your real thoughts are. Your real thoughts are nothing that you think you think. Your real thoughts are nothing that you think you think. Just as nothing that you think you see is related to vision in any way. And we've talked about that in earlier lessons. Now, there is no relationship between what is real and what you think is real. There's no relationship between those two. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. So let me say this again. This one is always tough to speak. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. Oh, let's say it right, Darren. Yeah, there we go. All right, so nothing that you think you see then bears any resemblance to what vision will show you. So that's kind of the key distinction, is that our egoic mind gives us perception, but that's not truth. And so it goes on to say you think with the mind of God. You think with the mind of God. So therefore, you share your real thoughts with God, as God shares his real thoughts with you. Now, real thoughts are the same thoughts because real thoughts are thoughts by the same mind. That's what we can say. God shares his thoughts with you because those are the real thoughts. Now, to share is to make alike. To share is to make alike. So if we say that it's to make alike, we say you share thoughts and you make them alike. So it says to share is to make alike or to make one. Nor do real thoughts you think with the mind of God leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source. Therefore, your real thoughts are in the mind of God as you are in the mind of God. Remember, you're perfect, whole, and complete. Your real thoughts are in your mind as well, where God is in your mind. As you are part of God's mind, so are your real thoughts part of God's mind. Goes on to say this, where then are your real thoughts? Well, today we will attempt to reach your real thoughts, your real thoughts. We will have to look for your real thoughts in your mind because that is where your real thoughts are. Your real thoughts must still be there in your mind because your real thoughts cannot be left and they have not left your source, which is what you share with the mind of God. So what is thought by the mind of God is eternal, being part of creation. Remember, creation and making. Now, that's just the first part of the actual manuscript itself. So it's a little tougher. I always want to start with that. Then I want to go into the kind of the breakdown of it. So it says this, God is the mind with which you think. Lesson 45 states that God is the mind with which I think. This lesson teaches us about real thoughts and the sharing of them. It tells us that thoughts of our egoic mind are not real thoughts. Real thoughts are thoughts shared with the mind of God. It states that God shares his real thoughts with us, and we share our real thoughts with God because they are thoughts from the same mind. So there's a couple other bullet points I want to make sure you've got there if you're taking notes on this. Now, it defines sharing as to make alike or to make one. It also says that thoughts do not leave their source. Thoughts do not leave their source. So if thoughts you are normally thinking are not real, what does this all mean? So it's important to note that the mind, in the way the manuscript is written, is always in with the capital M, mind. Anytime you see capitalization of a word that is not the first word in a sentence, bells and whistles should go off. This capitalization signifies that A Course in Miracles is referencing the real world or truth with a capital T in the way it's done here, and not the world of perception. So truth is, with a capital T, is the truth. The mind is, with the capital M, is the mind. It's from the source. Now, God, let's see, God is cause, we are God's effect. Two sides of one inseparable coin. We talked about cause and effect on Friday a little bit. Now, God is cause, we are God's effect. A cause must have an effect, and an effect must have a cause, or neither can exist. So the existence of both halves confirms the existence of the whole. Without both, the one self would not exist. Now, it goes on to say that although an effect cannot change its cause, an effect cannot change its cause, an effect can be the cause of its own effects that precede itself. I'll give you an example. A child can have children of its own, but it cannot give birth to its own parent. This is a fundamental principle of the law of cause and effect. So in a previous note, we talked about syllogisms. We discussed syllogisms, which is a syllogism is a series of statements that leads to a logical conclusion. As long as the statements are correct, the conclusion always must then be correct. If any of the preceding statements or premises are false, then the conclusion is probably false or wrong. So in logic, once a false premise has been introduced, everything that follows may be false. The mind, which with a capital M, and real thoughts are what we share with God. So the mind with a capital M and real thoughts are what we share with God. These are all thoughts that came before the introduction of any false beliefs about truth with a capital T. So once the idea of separation was raised to the level of belief, a false premise has been introduced and into the logic as well. There's now a line of demarcation between guaranteed truth and the possible true or false thoughts that followed after the introduction of the erroneous premise of belief. You know, I read somewhere where it's thought that this began in the whole story in the book of Genesis, right, with Adam and Eve and the cause and effect being forced out of the Garden of Eden. So that's probably the first this began was with that. So it goes on to say this. The real mind only knows the truth, which is represented by real thoughts. With the split mind, remember we talked about split minded a couple times last week, part of their mind knows and remembers the truth, while other parts have forgotten the truth and now believes that the false can be true and truth can be false. The split mind is an effect of the erroneous thinking of the child, not the parent. The parent's mind remains whole and is not changed by the child's misperception. Although thoughts that came before this belief in separation are real, they represent the truth and are part of the shared mind of God. So everything before that first separation is the truth. Although thoughts that follow the belief system in separation cannot be assumed to be true, real or part of the shared mind of God. So that's the flip side of that. Goes on, it says the source of these non-real thoughts comes from the child's mind that believed itself to be separate. Let me say that one again. Since the source of these non-real thoughts come from the child's mind that believes itself to be separate. But when we talk about separate, that comes from where? Our egoic mind, right? It's one of the things it does is it wants to separate us. Since these secondary thoughts come from the child's mind, which are an effect of God, these thoughts have no ability to change the mind of God, right? Effect can't change cause. Effect can change what comes after cause, but can't change cause. Since to share is to make alike, we talked about that. So a shared mind is to make alike, or to make one, so together. The only possible way for the split-minded to return to the mind of God is to drop their belief in separation. They must return to the point before this error in this thinking occurred. By dropping the thought system of the ego, your false thoughts of separation disappear and only real thoughts, which are your mind's true foundation, remain. Now, our mind's return to the mind of God is guaranteed because of God's foundation. It's wholly changeless. So the foundation never changes. Our God never shared our ego's belief that we are anything other than as He created us, perfect, whole, and complete. Therefore, the only way to be made alike or to make one is for the split-minded to return to the source or the truth or the mind of God. So that's the way the split-minded gets back to that. Now, the lesson itself. They're going to be 3 5-minute practice periods, much like, whoops, what did I do wrong here? There we go. I guess the whole page is there. 3 5-minute practice periods. I'm going to read through this, and it'll start to sound familiar with the way we've been practicing recently. So our 3 5-minute practice periods for today will take the same general form that we used in applying Friday's idea that God is the light in which I see. We will attempt to leave the unreal and seek for the real. We will deny the world in favor of truth. We will not let the thoughts of our world hold us back. We will not let the beliefs of the world tell us that what God would have us do is impossible. Let me say that one again. So it says, we will not let the beliefs of the world tell us that what God would have us do is impossible. Instead, we will recognize that only what God would have us do is possible. Now, we'll also try to understand that only what God would have us do is what we want to do. So it's that alignment, the like mind, the shared mindset. And we will also try to remember that we cannot fail in doing what God would have us do. There is every reason to feel confident, and you will succeed with today's lesson. It is the will of God to do so. So you begin the exercise, again, 3 to 5 times today, by repeating the idea that God is the mind with which I think. Say it to yourself with your eyes open, and then close your eyes. As you do it, say it again, and then spend a fairly short period of time thinking of a few relevant thoughts of your own. So with the eyes closed, whatever's coming up, and just keep the idea that God is the mind of which I think. After you have added some 4 or 5 thoughts that have come up for you of your own, then we want to take this idea and repeat, God is the mind with which I think. God is the mind with which I think. And after you've added some 4 or 5, just do that and tell yourself gently, God is the mind in which I think. Now, with that, then, if I've got 4 or 5 ideas that have come forth, and I say, God is the mind with which I think, ask yourself this question. My real thoughts are in my mind. I think like to find my real thoughts, or I'd like to find my real thoughts. So if you're having trouble finding it, do that part of it. Just say that I'd like to think with the mind of God. These are not real thoughts. These are what I created. And then go try to go past what the unreal thoughts coming up are. This is an interesting one, because it says, under all the senseless thoughts and mad ideas in which you have cluttered your mind with, there are real thoughts. And those are the thoughts God had planned for you from the beginning. So these real thoughts are there in your mind now, completely unchanged. They never went away. These real thoughts will always be in your mind, exactly as these thoughts always were in your mind from the beginning. All the senseless thoughts and mad ideas that have come to you since that time, when belief caused separation, your egoic mind, they're there too, but the foundation on which you are created is there, which are the real thoughts that are the thoughts with God that were instilled in you from the very beginning. And those are holy changes. You cannot change them. So it's just tapping into it. Now, these real thoughts are the foundation towards which the exercise for today are directed. Here is your mind joined with the mind of God. Here are your real thoughts, one with God's thoughts. For this kind of practice, only one thing is necessary. Only one thing is necessary, and that is the approach. Approach this practice on this lesson as you would an altar dedication in heaven to God the Father and God the Son. For such is the place you will be trying to reach. I mean, this is really going to that level. You will probably be unable to yet realize how high you are trying to go. Yet even with a little understanding that you've always gained, you should be able to remind yourself that this is no idle game, but an extension in holiness and an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven by doing this exercise. So, thoughts, questions, comments? I know it's a lot. This is one that you may want to go Google lesson 45 if you're struggling with the exercise itself, because I know I didn't do it justice in laying it out. It's a challenging concept for many, but underlying it all is to say we're a shared mind, and if I can access what was instilled in me from the time I was created, then I have access to see the truth, and that's really what it is. So when I was prepping for this, one of the things I got thinking about was I had a conversation yesterday with my parents. I was out at our farm about how I like real thoughts, like what's real and what's not right now. And I don't have time to go into where my head went with that, but I'm going, okay, I need to stay focused on really what foundationally is real thought. What is my purpose? What are the gifts that I've been given? Because remember, each one of us is perfect, whole, and complete. And what am I doing what I should be doing with those? And am I doing it at 100% full on, or am I not playing that way? Am I letting my ego slow me down? There's all kinds of stuff like that. That's what should start showing itself to you in these lessons this week. So if there aren't, I'm going to just take us off of screen share. There we go. So any thoughts, comments, clarifications maybe that I could do for you? All right, guys. Well, so tomorrow we'll start at 8 a.m. With this. Lynn Marie, if you want to hang out for just a second, I'll answer your question if you've got a minute to do that. And then I'll see those who can join us at 8 tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. Do your best with these lessons. They can be challenging, and they're worth it, though, I'll tell you. So have a great day, everybody.
And you as well, Darren. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Darren.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. All right. Yes, they've been moving my schedule around constantly, Lynn Marie. So because I didn't know, I'm in a coaches training all day today that I didn't know about on Thursday.
Surprise. Okay, so that's I was surprised to see you this morning. I thought your whole day got canceled, and I was like, maybe I read something wrong. Maybe that wasn't. Maybe it was just okay. I do have 3 quick questions. I had actually
Yeah.
had an email drafted up, and I was about to send it, and then I was like, oh, but he's here on the
Yeah,
call.
that'll save me having to answer an email. That's good.
Yeah. So okay. So Ignite. Do you want to meet later this week to go over just to
Yeah,
figure out
we
the specifics of
yeah we
like maybe
have to.
Friday?
You
Yeah,
know,
Friday or Saturday.
um,
Or I mean, or unless you have time on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like,
I don't think. Yeah, I think the next 3 days are going to be the next 4
yeah,
are going to be booked. So yes, let's do Friday.
okay.
Well, I wonder if is it all day Thursday? Um,
I honestly don't. I think it's most of. I could be wrong.
we're not doing an end of the day huddle though, so that's why I'm thinking because my
Oh, maybe.
last huddle is Thursday morning. Um, well,
Oh, I would have time Thursday afternoon then, other than 2:30.
okay,
Oh wait, I might not actually. I
let's just
might
go to
not.
Friday then.
Okay. Okay. Do you have noon by any chance?
Um, let me look at it. I believe I do have that open.
Or I could do 11
No,
and
I
just
think
yeah.
uh, Friday. Well, we shouldn't have did my normal Friday then because that's all being taken up. Let's see, what do I have? Noon on Friday is wide open. All right,
Perfect. Yay! Then I don't have to move anything.
and then yeah, and I'm not going to have anything right behind that either. So
Okay.
if we need a little extra time, we could do that. I'm going to move you to the 18th at noon.
Okay. And then are we doing citywide this week or no?
No, we're moving it to next week.
Okay, so then that can wait. Although I was good, if you want to know, I had an idea for my topic, but we can talk about that
Oh,
later.
cool. Okay.
And then training videos. So for the how-to guides that I'm working on,
Yeah.
if you want those videos, would you prefer them to be hosted on the KW Pivot 2020 site or on the YouTube channel?
I think YouTube channel probably better,
YouTube
isn't
channel.
it? It's up
Perfect.
to you. Well, once it's there, we can put it on Pivot because that's how I filter stuff through to Pivot anyway. They're all on YouTube first, so.
Oh, they're all on YouTube first. Okay,
Yeah.
they can't be hosted on the website then.
No,
Okay.
they can't. So I just do a link from YouTube to it, and then just created a card for the front.
Okay, then we won't need to put it there too because it'll just be you wouldn't need to put it on Pivot 2020. We could if we wanted to, but okay.
Yeah.
That was it. I just didn't know where to host the videos. So
Okay.
perfect. Yay. Okay. That's all I have.
So just so I'm working on the script packet. I know you sent
Yes.
that to me, and then I'll have the story problem scenario all
Mhm.
written out. My thought on that is we're not gonna give them the whole story. We're gonna give them the segments before we have them do that, right? So I don't want them to know what's gonna happen in the inspection before they write the offer.
Right. Yeah.
So we're gonna lay the
real.
whole transaction out from very beginning to the very end, and then post closing, and we'll be feeding that to them as we use those sections.
I love that. That's gonna be so fun.
And then, was there anything else? Those are the 2 things I had
Those
on
were
my
the-
notes you needed from me.
Yeah. And then it's just a matter of figuring out, like, okay, how does one graduate? How are we going to work the teams? I have to figure out. No, it shouldn't be that. I don't think I'll take a look to make sure there's nothing I'm not thinking of with my spreadsheet, but I think I'll be able to, because we're not going to need it Monday, the results. So, okay. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. So I should be good with that because it's basically all stuff. It's all the Ignite stuff on there that they're already reporting. So I'm just using the same reporting sheet. But I've got my other stuff all done. So, and we've got the meeting invite too, I think went out. I thought, or did I not send that out? Ignite instructors. Yep, that's on the 23rd. Perfect. Okay. Yep, we're all good then.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'll have that stuff when I finish it. I'll send it to you, but it'll definitely be done before Friday. How's that?
Awesome. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much, Darren.
You're welcome.
All right, bye.